Just a quick disclaimer before I get this video started. This will be a longer video. Make sure you guys grab your snack, your tea, your coffee, protein shake, late lunch. Make sure you guys grab that because this is going to be a long one. Also, make sure you guys watch the whole video. There's going to be a lot to break down and lots to cover. So make sure that you guys stay tuned. Also, follow me over on the X platform. I'll leave a link to that in the description. There's going to be lots of information on the X platform as well. So for those of you who have X, make sure you guys follow me over on the X platform. So Verizon released its third quarter earnings this morning. I was up early, got the numbers out. For those of you who saw that video, numbers weren't as bad as many of us expected. This morning, during the earnings call, with the earnings themselves, there was also a letter that the new CEO addressed the company with, titled "The New Verizon Playing to Win." So the Verizon that we've come to know, Verizon 1.0 and Verizon 2.0 and all that jazz under Hans Vestberg, it's effectively done. Dan Schulman is putting the entire company on a full reboot and changing effectively across the board how Verizon does business and how Verizon operates. So the two things that I want to cover right up front in this video that I want to emphasize, because he emphasized it, he pointed out his experience. That's something that he addressed right off the bat. And arguably, I will say, he has even more years of experience than even Srini, the new CEO at T-Mobile. So he highlighted his tenure at AT&T, becoming the president of consumer. He highlighted his tenure at Virgin Mobile, pretty much taking that from a startup into a respectable business that ended up getting sold to Sprint, for those of you who remember that. So he has the experience. He really has the experience to take Verizon in a different direction. One thing briefly, we'll cover this later in the video too. One thing briefly, he didn't give any details on how he plans to achieve. He's keeping his cards close to his chest, and he doesn't want to reveal anything too soon to his competitors. He made that very, very clear during the call. During the Q&A, he said, "I don't want to give any info to John or Srini." That tells me he's playing chess. He wants to keep the competition on their toes, and he wants to catch them off guard and blindside them whenever he's ready to drop his strategy, which is likely going to come with new plans, et cetera, et cetera. So the second part that I want to highlight is price increases. He made it very clear the price increases have done more harm than good for the company. So he didn't specifically say he's never going to raise price again under his tenure, but the way that he discussed price increases and how it negatively impacted the company, I think I can make the assumption that at least in the short term, at least 2026, he doesn't plan on increasing price. So that should give you guys, the consumer, a little bit of peace of mind there. And I think that's transparency. I think that him saying that is better than any price guarantee and price lock, and because that can still come with fee increases, and because it's excluded. Taxes can go up, fees can go up. So him saying, look, the price increases have done more harm than good, that just tells me, okay, he's not going to raise price. Because that would be completely crazy if he ended up raising price again after just discussing that the price increases have negatively impacted Verizon. So those are the 2 points that he himself really emphasized during the call. Now, for some of this video, we're going to have to point out T-Mobile, and we're going to have to speculate some because he really didn't give us a whole lot of strategy. He said he's going to reveal more in January at the end of year call, when the fourth quarter, when they usually give guidance for the year ahead. The reason I want to tie in T-Mobile to this video is because this is why T-Mobile stock is dropping. And I'm no financial expert, no stock expert, so don't go and trade any of your stock based on my opinion. But the reason I think T-Mobile is stock is dropping, it's not because of the guided numbers. It's not because of the raise in capex. I don't think it's because of any of that. I think it's because of competitive pressures. The market, even prior to this being released and to us even knowing Verizon's strategy, the market fears that Verizon is going to get competitive and that they are going to start playing to win and that could negatively impact T-Mobile. T-Mobile has been the majority share leader for a very long time. And that's what their messaging, their story, it has been evolving around growth. We want to grow, we are growing, and that growth is leading to outsized financials. And that's what T-Mobile has been doing, right? They've been growing. Then when we get the quarterly earnings, it's always a raise and beat quarter. And by the end of the year, they've usually exceeded guidance by far. As we've discussed, under promise, over deliver. T-Mobile's guidance is always very conservative. So if they say 6 million for the year postpaid growth, you can already expect 7 or 8 million. So and T-Mobile plans on increasing that next year. So they're already conservative. So if they go even higher next year on that guidance, you can expect them to grow even more. They under promise and over deliver. It's in their DNA. It's what they've done by history. So Verizon could put a stop to that significantly. Under this reboot, Verizon could put a significant stop to T-Mobile's growth. Now, again, this is where we start speculating. Dan Schulman didn't tell us how he plans to achieve this. How is he planning to get Verizon back into the green, back into mobility growth? He didn't. He discussed that. Yes, he gave us a few things. He said he wants to grow through retention, meaning lowering the churn. He did discuss that, so we understand that. And I think right now the way the carriers are going, I don't think it's hard to achieve the lowest churn in the industry. I mean, they're all very close. Verizon came in at 9.1, AT&T's at 9.2, T-Mobile came in at 0.89. So it's not hard to go to a 0.88 or a 0.87 for Verizon. It's not hard to do. So that's what he's discussing, but he didn't tell us how he plans to do that, right? So on the retention side, we can speculate again, right? The customers that are already effectively trying to leave, trying to request the port out pins, they're out the door. He could potentially continue the loyalty discounts. Hey, if you stay another 12 months, 15% off. And I think he will continue that because it's just how are you going to innovate around retention? I don't think you can do that. It's just it's quite simple. You have to lower your price and you have to make the customer feel welcome and loyal. So you give them a discount. I think that's the only way that you retain customers. And in that case, again, as you think about retention, I've said this before, but a paying customer is better than no paying customer. Yes, margins are important. Operating in a disciplined manner is important. But if you don't have the customer paying you at all, then everything goes out the door. So that's very important, right? A paying customer is better than no paying customer, and I think that's why he's saying growth through retention. Now, that's an important part too, but new volume of growth, it goes hand in hand. So he needs to get people in the stores. I think that's going to be a very key metric for this new CEO, Dan Schulman. Besides everything else, I think the main focus for him needs to be getting people into the Verizon stores. He needs new growth. They need new volume of growth. They need to be able to sell the network that they've been spending billions on, and he needs to be able to attach the products and services. That's how he needs to grow. It's the same way T-Mobile's growing. It's the same way T-Mobile's growing. They grow by volume and then they attach everything they got. They attach home internet, they attach fiber now in some markets, they attach more lines, higher plans. They attach it all. That's why their ARPA is increasing at the percentage that it is. And that's what's turning into financial growth for the company. So that's what he needs to tackle. He needs to get volume into the queue. It can be the store, the chat, the app, whatever, calling. He needs to get volume into the queue. So another thing that he mentioned as well is cost cutting. So like I said, if cost cutting is going to be what it takes to get people into the stores, then so be it. But he said some of that action is already underway for this quarter. So that likely means job cuts. If he plans on leaning out the company up front, it's going to have to be with job cuts. How many? Again, he didn't discuss anything really. He didn't really give us anything. You guys can check out this letter from him. I'll leave a link to it in the description. But I'll just briefly read as we go through the cuts here. So in the last several years, and this is the one I wanted to read, and everything else you guys could check out. In the last several years, despite our investment in network excellence, we have consistently lost market share, which is very true. Today, that changes. We will leverage our network excellence. Again, network as a service, that's what Hans built under his tenure, to increase our share of net ads. Winning in the marketplace demands a new approach and a fully revamped and superior customer value proposition. It demands excellence across the entire customer service experience. Now, I wanted to cover that as the company continues leaning out. The first thought of everybody is, okay, how can Verizon bring growth back? They have to lower price. So his thought is revamping the superior customer value proposition. Again, he didn't give details on how he plans to revamp that. I thought their value proposition was already pretty solid. Like anything that you can get as an add-on it's a value. You can't get that price anywhere else because it's exclusive to Verizon and its customers. So I thought that was already a good value proposition. But I saw something earlier in the month where he talked about the My Plan and its add-ons not really being such a good thing because it increases the price on the plan. Whereas, say, T-Mobile, they include it into the price, so it makes T-Mobile cheaper. So that's something that he may be looking at revamping. Maybe he starts including some of the perks on us. Or he says, the customer can choose 3 things and it'll be baked into the price, whatever the case. Like I said, again, we have to do a lot of speculating because he didn't give us a lot of stuff to really discuss. Like I said, he wants to keep his cards close to the chest so his competitors know nothing. He wants them to know nothing. So that also tells me he respects his competition. He respects AT&T, he respects Verizon. And I think that's a good thing. But he has to still compete. He has to fight for the customer. He has to fight for the market share. And I think that's what he's going to do. And I think that's why it almost sounds like, and again, I'm speculating, it almost sounds like they put Verizon in as CEO to fix the network. That's what it sounds like. To overhaul the network, because he's a network guy. Hans Vestberg, for those of you who don't know, his tenure started at Ericsson in Sweden. He's a network guy. He was the CTO during his days, I believe, at Ericsson. So you bring him in, he takes the network to the next level, right? He brings the intelligent edge network. He brings the transition through from Nokia to Samsung, putting in vRAN on Samsung, continuing to modernize the Ericsson network, continuing to add new cell sites, continuing to invest in the network, period, right? Spending over 50 billion in C-band. So that's a pretty big deal. And I think that was achieved under Hans Vestberg. If there's anything positive that I think that you attached to Hans under his tenure at Verizon, it's got to be the network. And even some people will argue that. They will say it didn't happen fast enough. But you got to think he was giving, when Hans took over the network at the time that he did, the bad decisions had already been made, right? The AWS auctions and all that already had happened. The only thing you could probably put on Hans is the 600. that he didn't invest in 600. But outside of that, he went big on C-band. He went really, really big on C-band. So I think the network piece, I think it was brought under control under his leadership. It still has a lot of work to do. I got some numbers last night, so they still have a lot of work to do, but they're going to get there. I think within another year or so, they're going to have that C-band really at scale, and then they're just gonna start densifying more, and they're gonna start upgrading the small cells even more. They're doing that today, but there's a lot of small cells out there for Verizon. They have a lot. So there's a lot to do for this new CEO. There's going to be a lot of long days that he's going to have to be in the office, him and his team, and they're going to have to figure out this new vision. I think he's already laid out his internally, like within the closed door meetings with his team, with the leadership team, like Sampath and those guys. They already know what the strategy is. I'm sure they gave their input, what they would like to see, and he took that into consideration. And that's what we're going to see very likely in January. The facts are this could really take the competitive spirit to another level. And like I said, this could impact T-Mobile in a negative light because they've been the ones competing pretty much on their own. They've never been challenged in any way, shape, or form, really. So Verizon, under this new vision, perhaps they could really challenge T-Mobile. Now, we'll analyze once everything is released and revealed, but that's what we want to see. And then what's also negatively impacting T-Mobile as well is AT&T. What if they decide, next year, oh, we have all this capacity with this new DoD, we're going to compete differently too. So that's really going to affect everything. Those jump balls are not going to be as easy to get anymore for T-Mobile as once before. If everything happens the way that we think it's going to happen. So all in all, it's going to be exciting. I think the fourth quarter is going to play out how it's going to play out. I don't think we're going to see any drastic change from Verizon yet. I don't think the new CEO is going to make his print just yet, leave his print. I think it's going to be next year. I think the fourth quarter Verizon is going to be, and that's another thing too, to close out the video. He said the changes he's going to make are not going to be promotionally led. So that's interesting, right? He said, I want to implement new innovation that cannot be easily replicated by the competition. So he had to say it won't be promotionally led because the competition can easily replicate. If he goes up to, let's say, $1,400, just using an example, $1,400 on a trade-in, AT&T and Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile can easily add that same amount if that's what's needed. So he's saying, I want to implement something that is so innovative and different that the others can't replicate it, or it's going to take them a long time to replicate. That's why he wants to keep everything close to the chest. So when he drops, it's going to blindside the competition, and it's going to send them, okay, we have to respond to this. We have to do something. We all know AT&T's internal systems are a mess, so it's going to take them a while to respond and recover if the port outs start changing. T-Mobile, I think they will be a little quicker, or actually a lot quicker. Their systems are more flexible. They're already AI based, and they can probably adjust a lot quicker than AT&T today. And AT&T is in the middle. For those of you who don't know, they're in the middle of changing to Salesforce, which is an AI based system. So that's going to be a learning curve for the company as well, because that's a brand new system. But that's, those are the two things that he did kind of give us, right? He wants to retain customers, right? Growth through retention. And then the next round of innovation that he wants to bring to the market, it won't be promotionally led, which is very expensive for the customer, for the company anyway. It's very expensive, and it takes a long time to get the customer into profits, right? To make profits off the customer. So they have to do CLVs. The customer has to stay long term because that's how they make profit. If the customer leaves after 2 years, once the device is paid off, then Verizon just lost. They really lost money on that customer. So we'll see what happens. This is just a video I wanted to make to kind of fill you guys in on what happened this morning at the earnings, share this letter with you guys, and then kind of get your guys' take on what you guys think this new CEO will be able to accomplish with this new vision, the new Verizon playing to win. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.